Welcome to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters. Money on Tap is where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. That's what we do here on this radio show. And we look at all sides of the issues, bringing a fully independent planning perspective to the table. My name is Seth Cressman, and I'm joined here once again with John Ryder and Ben Brayshaw. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Seth.
Seth, good morning. Good morning, Ben.
You can reach us at 855.
Ben.
Good morning, Seth.
Ben, can't you say hello to me this morning? I'll tell you.
Good morning.
Now, we work across the hall from each other, and sometimes we don't even say good morning. Here we go. Okay. All right.
Oh, where were we? Oh, yes, the important stuff. Yeah, you can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. You can also find us at Facebook, 3D Investing. And I don't see the note here, but guess what? We're at Twitter at
we are.
BF. Yes, we are, John. Maybe you're not.
Are you doing lots of twittering? Are you doing lots of twittering?
I think Seth tweets.
He's a tweeter.
He's a tweeter.
I tweet. I tweet, folks. I'm separating myself from the pack here today, folks. That's what I do at Twitter. You can reach us there at BFG.
I don't have a Twitter.
_LLC. Now, you've completely interrupted where I was going with this show today. So I guess
as a professional, Seth, carry on. Carry on, Seth.
Actually, I enjoyed that.
We're going to be talking today about a trend that, you know, what we're seeing a lot more often than not. And it's in fact, it's Americans that are at the typical retirement age, but they're working longer and longer. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And today we're going to take a look at some of them and talk about why that's happening. And hopefully you get some things to think about, if retirement's getting closer for you. But before we get into that topic, we're going to talk about money in the news.
Absolutely. You know, Seth, I'm looking forward to talking about that the topic of the day today, about keep on working. What, me? It's interesting because my grandfather, I remember him working for Electric Boat many, many years ago. And he retired fairly young, and I can't imagine he'd be thinking about retiring, at age 70, 72, as some people do today. And not that there's anything wrong with that at all, but that was for him just a foreign concept. They worked for so many years hard. So we're going to enjoy talking about that topic today. But something that would similarly shock my grandfather would be this next story here about a $2 million dinner that you can get if you have the money for it. Believe it or not, guys, this is a story out of Russia. There's a Russian diamond mining group that just announced the perfect way to spend all that pesky cash at once. A stupidly lavish package it's touting as the world's most expensive dining experience. So this is an 18-course meal facilitated by World of Diamonds. Must be a diamond mining group there in Russia. It will take place at Singapore restaurant. It's located atop the Marina Bay Sands Luxury Hotel. But first, the hideously overprivileged table of two has to get there. According to Forbes, that involves a 45-minute helicopter ride over scenic Singapore, followed by a chauffeured Rolls-Royce drive and a private luxury cruise. The private rooftop dining area will be blanketed in 10,000 fresh roses because the impeccably pedicured feet of the ultra-wealthy must never actually touch the floor.
I didn't think the roses were that fresh when I went.
Yeah. Ben doesn't remember quite that way. Maybe Ben got a discount there. Maybe Ben. I was thinking Ben kind of does things by Groupon sometimes. Maybe he got a Groupon. They threw out that frill. So, anyways, Forbes says this. They says that the privileged diners will eat using diamond-studded chopsticks that have their names engraved in them, which seems like a very thoughtful touch, I think. It's a very nice thing that the Russian diamond and mining company is doing. The menu will include classic rich people chow, such as caviar, wild salmon, oysters with champagne foam, and a boatload of rare or vintage wines, some as many as 55 years old. There's also some take-home swag in the form of one highly extravagant piece of jewelry, a 2.08 carat fancy vivid blue diamond ring. They claim that the ring itself is valued at $2 million, meaning whoever shells out the cash for this experience is basically getting the thoroughly over-the-top dinner experience gratis. Because if there's one thing the ultra-wealthy need more of, it's free stuff. Yeah, so I think that's not a bad deal if you think about it. It's $2 million and they're giving you a ring worth $2 million. Why wouldn't everyone do this? Why wouldn't
Right.
everyone do this if you had the cash available?
It's a swap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
especially if when you get there, you're like, well, I've had better at Denny's.
That's true. So I don't know. Sometimes in the show, and I was telling the guys, sometimes we bring these crazy stories to the table, and this is one of these crazy stories. Can't even imagine, but it's just somehow how some people roll, I guess. And yeah, not how I often roll. Occasionally, but we don't do this too often. My wife and I like to dine out, but I try to hold it back most of the time. But once in a while, we do something extravagant, such as this. So.
Oh man, John, you're so lucky.
Dude, no, I think we've had this conversation before, but refresh my memory. What's the favorite place? Like when you go out on the town and you're like, hey, we really want to have just a nice night. It doesn't have to be like the over the top place that I sent you for your anniversary, Ben, but something nice.
Well, we usually when we really get a spring, it's usually like McDonald's or Wendy's around here. We don't have much.
Yes, we don't have much out here now. Seth, it may be different out
Five
there.
Guys. You took me out for Five Guys. That was pretty nice.
Five Guys was
Yes,
good.
that's pushing the envelope there, Seth. Especially for you. That is for
That's
sure.
got to be a real special occasion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
When I had the all you can eat peanut bar, I was like, I'm in.
We didn't even get burgers.
No, just sit me down with a bucket of. I'm an elephant, Sit me down with a bucket of peanuts. I'm happy.
Oh gosh. No, there's like a lot of good restaurants, but you really start getting good when you get into Boston. That's when you get some
you get the Italian restaurants
Yeah,
that
you
are
get
really good. And we have certainly some good ones here in Manchester for sure. But
So I was Spencer, my oldest 13-year-old, is sitting down and says, "Hey, Dad, watch this with me." The other day, and it was on Amazon, I think, and it was gosh, I wish I could remember what it was, but it was like a history of food. Started out at 1900s, and it was like they were featuring lunch, like what were people eating in the 1900s, and they brought us up to 2018 ish, where in that whole menu, kind of decade by decade, and the thing that was interesting is they're sitting this food in front of these kids, and they're getting their reactions. Like these are like 7-year-old kids that are getting sat down with. I think in the 1900s, what was popular for lunch was like a radish sandwich.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
our kids would starve today.
And the kids are looking at these things going, what is this? But something that I learned that was interesting was about lobster. Apparently before 1950, lobster was like prison food.
Oh wow.
It was super, super cheap. And I can't remember what chef it was that kind of brought it up to the level of, shishi fare at the restaurants, right? But that's what happened. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Well, something interesting the other day. I was in Portland, Maine. I was dropping my daughter off. She was hanging out with some friends for a week here. But let me tell you this. I stopped at this place called Elevation Burger. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that before. And normally when I'm ordering from a menu, I'll pay attention to the prices and all. I just do. This time I didn't, and I just want to give me a cheeseburger, give me a fry, and a water from the case there. Guys, I ended up spending, and after she told me the price, I almost said, I'm not gonna do this. I cancel it, but $18. That's all it was. It was 3 items. I don't know what I was thinking or what, but $18. Usually, you can go into Five Guys and you're out of there for $10, but I guess when I went over to the water case, the water was Voss, VOSS, which is, I guess, fairly expensive.
It was like a $10 water.
Yeah, I guess that's probably what it was, but that was aggravating. That will not happen again. So the prices were elevated as far as I was concerned at Elevation Burger.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember the time we went to Seth? We went to Whole Foods at one time, and you went and picked up this bag of cherries, and it was like $18 or $20.
Yeah, it was like $20.
I don't feel so bad now. I don't feel so bad.
And
I got a whole meal.
I was like, what happened to the? Why is the register saying it's like $60, $70?
Well, they always call Whole Foods whole paycheck, So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Maybe it's going down with Amazon's purchase.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's talk about that. Speaking of Amazon,
Okay.
Amazon, why aren't they in the Dow? Why not? It's interesting because we have seen companies come in and out of the Dow over the years, but we've certainly seen some large companies out there that are no longer in there. And you wonder, how in the world does it happen that they're not in there anymore?
I mean, the Dow Jones, which is the most acclaimed index that people follow.
Yeah, 30
we
stocks.
live and breathe on
Sure.
whether the Dow's up or down. It's only 30 stocks, U.S. domestic, and we've got companies like Amazon who aren't in there, and GE, who's been there for 110 years, was just kicked out.
Yeah, well, it all goes according to trends sometimes. Think about Kodak. Kodak was, at one time, in the Dow, a huge participant in the Dow, and now no longer there. But think about what's happened with Kodak over the years. How often, Ben, are you going to... are you getting
I use my
your,
Polaroid every day.
Yeah, you use your Polaroid.
Every day I use that Polaroid.
So how often do you send off for pictures anymore? Think about that. I don't know, when I was a kid, we'd send off, we'd get something from Clark Color Labs or whatever, and we'd send off the roll that we did, and we had no idea that 110 roll, we had no idea how it turned out. Then you get it back and you realize that out of the 24 pictures that you had, that 22 of them were blurry and maybe 2 of them worked. It's really the case how it was. And nowadays, that's just not the case. It's just not done that way anymore.
I took 40 pictures, Mom, for you. Like my kids will be like, click, 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 click.
Oh, I know. It's a whole different deal.
If you're wanting to see what 110 pictures look like, you can go to yourmoneyontap.com and you'll see a couple of pictures of Ben and John and myself there. That's the last roll of 110 we had, folks. We put them on our website.
Isn't that bad, huh? Oh, man.
That's funny. But, when you think about it, you think about, the Dow being, GE being kicked out of the Dow, and Amazon and like Berkshire Hathaway and all these big companies, and why they're not in there. It's just pretty crazy that they're, how the mechanism works and some of that stuff. And if you're ever interested in that, if anyone's listening is interested in that, wants to give us a call, I'll be happy to kind of chat through that structure. But it is an interesting dynamic of why they don't get in.
Yeah, so the fact is, Berkshire Hathaway is at $287,000. Can you imagine if Berkshire Hathaway was inside of the Dow, what that would do? In fact, there's an analyst who actually runs the Dow S&P 500 indices, and he says that if the Berkshire Hathaway stock was in the Dow, it would actually, even if every other stock went to zero, the Dow could still be up. So it's basically just showing that it would have too much influence if you have a stock
the
like
Dow's
that.
up again today.
Yeah, again.
But I lost all my money.
Yeah. Everyone's gone bankrupt.
So to get in the Dow, you got to be good, but not too good.
Yeah, and so what we're finding as we're looking at this is the fact that being in the Dow is kind of a very seasonal type of thing. So if the company is on its way up and it's not too influential, for instance, we're seeing in the news here that GE obviously just kicked out of the Dow, but it's being replaced by what company? Walgreens. And, GE was in the Dow for 110 years. And here we are in our lifetime seeing it being pulled out. And actually, interestingly enough, that GE last year was the worst performing stock in the Dow, losing almost half of its value. And this year is down by another 26%.
Well, I think moving Walgreens and the the pharma world and so forth for all the aging population of America and how that's going to impact our economy, I think it's probably more relevant to have more pharmaceutical background. I think Walgreens is a good fit actually because of the volume. I think it's a strong company too. So I think it's actually a good choice.
The farmer world is out and the pharma world is in. No, but even different companies that were in the Dow years ago were ones that were coal companies and that kind of thing. Even farming companies and food distribution companies, it has changed how things have been. So very interesting.
We're going to take a quick break at Money on Tap. We'll be right back. Hi, my name is Seth Crustman, partner with Brayshaw Financial Group and one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. One of the biggest concerns and largest expenses people face today is taxes. Without thoughtful planning, taxes can destroy future retirement dollars, eliminating the possibility of a timely retirement or dreams of what you want retirement to look like. If you're like most people, you're getting closer and closer to retirement, and you may be wondering if you're taking the right steps. Will my income be enough? Will rising taxes force me to give up my dreams? How does inflation factor into all of this? These are real concerns, and you're not alone. Putting a plan around your financial future is what we do. If you have questions when it comes to your financial security, and if you're looking for a personalized solution, contact us at Brayshaw Financial Group, 855-226-8551. It's time for you to start getting answers to your questions. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, Brayshaw Financial has offices across the country. We'd love the opportunity to show you how we can help. There's absolutely no cost or obligation to meet with us. Call us at 855-226-8551. 855-226-8551.
More Money on Tap in just a moment. On today's Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, John Ryder explains the tax advantages of the Roth IRA.
A Roth IRA is really a special retirement account that you can fund with post-tax income, so you can't deduct those contributions that you make into it. But once you have done this, all future withdrawals that you take from that Roth IRA are tax-free. That's a big point, because if you think about it, there are regular IRAs you can participate in. We call them traditional IRAs, and you're able to put so much money into those every year, but you get a tax break for doing that. So that sounds really good. And you might say, well, why would you ever recommend a Roth IRA when I can actually get a tax break for putting the money in now? Well, if you want a tax break later on, and that's what we're talking about here, a Roth IRA can be a very valuable tool for you to have. So understand, no upfront tax deduction for Roth IRA contributions, as there is with a traditional. But on the other hand, Roth distributions are tax-free when you follow the rules. And because every penny that you stash into a Roth IRA is your money, it's not a tax-subsidized gift from Uncle Sam, you can tap your contributions anytime, tax-free and penalty-free.
Thanks for joining us for this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, with great tips from the pros in three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. Now here's more Money on Tap with Seth, Ben, and John.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. You can also find us at Facebook /3D Investing. Today, we are discussing a topic that may not be a huge favorite for our listeners, but it might be really nice to hear what some people are doing. And it's delaying retirement. And we talk a lot about, how do we move up the retirement timeline?
Right.
Most of the time.
Seth, we've had shows on that where we talk about, hey, if you want to retire early and we want to retire at 50, well, where should you be putting your money and that kind of thing. But this is kind of the other side of that topic. We talk to a lot of people, and probably more people than not, that are saying, you know what, man, maybe I'm not going to be retiring early. Maybe I want to stay working longer. And there may be a number of different reasons for that. And Ben, I think we've discussed that in the past. That some people may not have the money. Some people may want to pass money on to kids more so. But there are definitely some reasons that people are looking to delay their retirement. Not always financial either. We often tell people when we're talking with people, we often will talk to people and ask them, hey, what are you planning on doing in retirement? And I'll tell you what, when you hear those answers like, well, I don't know, and there's no kind of clear definition of what they want to do, sometimes we'll even talk to people about, well, you know what? It may be wise to consider to keep on working. If you don't have a plan in retirement, that can be a very dangerous thing. As soon as you see people pick up a remote control, if they've been working, let's say, blue-collar jobs their whole life, and all of a sudden they retire and they're going to play golf and they're going to watch TV, there's a problem there.
I mean, I don't think there's any. I mean, if that's something you want to do when you want to retire,
sure,
God bless you. That's feel free and enjoy it. But I think with John, I think if I'm understanding you correctly, I'm thinking of the depression I see in some people who work and then just stop and they have nothing to do, and they lose kind of like purpose.
Yes, and they don't keep their mind active, that kind of thing. So that can be certainly a major issue.
But I mean, I think there's a lot of our population. I think part of our conversation or our show today is a lot of the population today that says, I've helped my children. I put them through college. I haven't been able to put enough away for retirement. I kind of know that. I'm feeling a little trapped inside of that. And I don't mind working. I might even not mind working a little bit, or
sure,
we're trying something else out, or doing. We meet people who want to go into some sort of like general missions and stuff, but they have paid positions in some of those.
Yeah,
it's not highly paid, but
sure,
it's still something, and then you feel like they've created a different purpose for their life. So I think, as we broach this subject, there's so many people that talk to us about retiring early or retiring on time, but there's some people who, I'm looking for some other options because I do want a specific type of retirement. I don't need it today. How can I get there? And we got some really cool figures and facts, I think, to share.
Absolutely. In fact, I wanted to share this. According to a Pew Research Center poll, 9 million Americans 65 and older have full or part-time jobs, an increase of 6% from 2000 to 2016. So the question is, why are so many Americans delaying retirement. And I think there's several factors that play a role, including the economy. You got Social Security benefits, desire to continue working, and access to health insurance as well too.
Yeah, one of the biggest factors that we see is the average life expectancy.
Right.
From 2013, research found that males are now living 3.8 years longer than they did in 1979. Now, that doesn't seem to be a lot. Like, when you say, 4 years, let's just round numbers. But overall, I mean, there's the average is moving higher. And so there's quite a few people that are pushing that number even higher. So what you have to realize with the way that the law of numbers works there, that you're going to have a lot of folks that are just living a lot longer. So when, in 1979 or 1980, when people were like, well, what's the average retirement age? When do you want to retire? And, well, when does Social Security start to pay me? That was usually
that was the triggering factor there, right?
Yeah,
well, that's the study where two people over 65 married and so forth. Well, one of them's 25% likely to live to 100 or 99.6 years according to the Jackson National Survey. And we got corrected by that a while back, but it's 100. People are living to 100. People are living past 100. Mm-hmm. To
so
plan
that means
for that,
when you hit 65, you got to plan for 35 years,
maybe
of
more
income.
Of one of you living.
Wow,
I mean, that's a lot of concern. So I mean, people are worried, and I think that's where some of the fear comes from. Is they hear about their friends, they're like, "Yeah, my parents are still alive, and they're 98 years old," and they're thinking to themselves, "Well, how are we going to provide for if one of us lives to 98? Because I wasn't planning on living to 98."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, let's kind of go through some of these, some different reasons here that people are actually delaying retirement. One of them, and I think it's very interesting because we haven't necessarily seen this right now, but maybe a few years ago we could talk about 2008. But an economic rough patch, meaning that let's say that you're very close to retirement. Let's say that you're at your traditional 65 years of retirement, and you say you meet with your planner and you're going to retire at 65. All of a sudden, the market tanks and you have your money in equities, and all of a sudden the $500,000 that you had to retire on, all of a sudden you have $300,000 because the market corrected and you had a huge correction there. All of a sudden you've got to figure out how to create income from $300,000 that equals what it was going to be at the $500,000. That's pretty tough to do without taking crazy risks. And so that's one thing we're seeing. There's a 2014 Federal Reserve study found that 38% of households either do not plan to retire or plan to keep working as long as possible, with the highest percentages of families making less than $40,000 a year, aligning with 29% of those surveyed who indicated they're unable to afford contributions to a retirement plan. So when the economy takes a downturn, many people become late savers, or they can't really afford to save anymore. And so it used to be that many people had the pensions. Remember, Ben, Seth, we've been talking about pensions for years here, where people had a pension and they knew that they could retire with that pension. Well, nowadays things have changed because we don't have pensions around anymore, very few.
It's amazing how people come to our office and say, well, I wish I had a pension like my parents.
Yeah.
There's things like that happen.
And the parents might have complained, well, I got a pension, but you know what? It's not going up very much. And, and their cost of living would go up and their pension would stay the same. So there's kind of pluses on both sides of that. But now the fact is that when it comes to pensions, they're not around and people are required to save on their own.
I'm stuck back on something I said here a little bit ago, which was the law of numbers. I don't know if you remember me talking about that.
Which law, Seth?
I mean, it was like 5 minutes ago, you guys. You got to remember that I said law of numbers, right?
My dimension's kicking in, I don't remember.
Insert something completely different. Law of averages, folks. That's the way what I meant to say. Anyways, you're right. We you know what? There's a lot to take a look at here, and I think we're going to get into some experiences that we've had recently. But I think one of the things that's interesting, and now this can be regionally focused. I know that there's a lot of things that are very similar in our demographics here in the Northeast and the Northwest. Believe it or not, you guys have a lot of technology, which pushes the needle. When I think of New England, I think of what do I think of first? I think of sports, right? I mean, that's probably the
winning
first thing.
Sports teams, Seth. That's what you think about, don't you?
I think of America's winningest population.
Yes, thank you.
Area.
Winners.
Yeah. So why wouldn't tech companies want to, be there and be involved? But there's a lot of that in the Northeast, as well as, I mean, in Portland, Oregon. I mean, there's people think of maybe Nike, but Intel right here is in Hillsboro is what a lot of our population revolves around.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Intel really likes to do is what we call young it up. You guys familiar with what I mean by,
No.
when they kind of come through and they're like, oh, well, you've been with the company for 20 years.
Oh.
And maybe we can kind of move you on with this package and you can go figure something else to do. Or and we'll bring in kind of the younger new generation of Intel. So we've seen that multiple times. But those people that are coming out of these retirement packages, one of the things that I've recognized as a trend is a lot of them going back into places that are either a ministry, like you mentioned before, and they've kind of coined this term rewirement. Have you ever heard that?
I have not heard that either, Seth.
It's not retiring; they're rewiring their lives, and maybe that's a tech thing. I don't know, but anyways, the point being is that there's so much that they want to do and they want to accomplish. Is that they're just kind of looking at this as like, well, this has been part of my journey, and what's this next part of my journey going to look like? And there can be a lot of options to explore. It doesn't necessarily have to, people don't have. I think the challenge for people in this is that they feel like maybe they're going to be pushed into a segment of society that they're no longer contributing, in that workforce. And that can be one of the mental challenges that they have is looking at their opportunities and saying, what is it that people are willing to pay me to do, but what is it that I would like to do that I can find a place for myself in this kind of an organization, and being purposeful in that instead of being, kind of handed whatever the option is out there. Does that make sense where I'm kind of going with that? John looks plenty confused, and that's okay, folks. I do this all the time, so don't worry.
No, I think everyone wants to find purpose. I think everyone wants to have purpose in life. I think those are things that, we have longings for. And I think, just because you retire, it just doesn't end. It just doesn't stop. And people feel that's where I have literally had clients in the past who have retired for a year or two and then died. I mean, like perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
And then, the retiring just, they just got depressed and their just body started shutting down. They lost their purpose. I think, I don't think anyone should stop. I mean, I don't think anyone should stop working. And what I mean by clarifying that is that I don't think life should stop having work. Is good. Like there's a part of work that's good, but it doesn't mean you need to be, if you're an IT programmer, that you need to still be doing IT work. I had an uncle who he drove a tractor trailer in New York City every day. I mean, I'm probably the most miserable place to drive a tractor trailer in the world is New York City. But he did it every day. He provided for his family. As soon as he was done working in that job, he went down south to Virginia and he started working at it wasn't UVA, it was Virginia Tech, and he started working in the horticultural department, and because he loved plants, and I think he made a few bucks an hour or whatever, but he loved that. They would say, hey, come in for 20 hours a week, whatever. He was there for 30, 40 hours working with students. And man, I never saw somebody so engaged and love that. And he did that for all of his retirement years. You know? So I don't think anyone should stop working, because without work, you lose a little bit of purpose. I have seen so many people find really super fulfilling things after their primary income job is over.
Yeah, no, for sure. So basically what we're seeing here is that people are delaying retirement because of economic uncertainty out there, and because maybe they took a big hit on their income because of what happened with the stock market. But there's also another reason that folks are delaying retirement, and that's because Social Security, they need to maximize that Social Security. And obviously things are changing with Social Security. If you're paying attention at all, you'll notice that your Social Security statement that you get talks about how that, the longer that you wait to get it, the more you're going to get. And some people just decide, you know what, hey, I don't want to take retirement age 62. I'm going to wait until full retirement, maybe till I hit 66, 67 years old. And even as we get older here, we're going to see our retirements move further. So it might be 70 that you have to. So some people, if they're wanting to get that maximum Social Security benefit, they say, you know what, I'm going to hold on and I'm going to wait until I've maximized my Social Security. But not only that, there are some types of investment vehicles out there, and we actually work with these types of investment vehicles, that the longer you wait and the longer you have that money sitting in that retirement vehicle, hey, the higher income you can expect from that type of investment.
Yeah,
that can be a popular thing to wait.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what people come in. They like, hey, my parents had the pension. I want a pension. I wish I had a pension. We can create some pension-like investment programs for people that can go along with Social Security well. And we love that foundational story for people. The traditional investment story we do all day long, but creating some relevance of safety, some feelings of underlying protection of assets, creating that income stability. Those are the types of things that a lot of people are looking for, and that I have found has created fear in people deciding when they can retire.
Yeah.
Is not knowing that they have any sort of stability underneath their retirement. They're all scared of 2008 again.
Yeah, some of the benefits certainly outweigh the fears here, and that's one of the things that I think is really in the background for a lot of people is trying to recognize in themselves, like, what is it that's driving me? What is my motivation, and is it going to truly accomplish a goal? And I think that's the thing in planning that we really try to establish is will our activity, whatever that might be, if it's a savings, if it's a rate, if it's a placement of a product, or utilizing some kind of a tool that we have in our resources available to us, what is it going to accomplish? And I think that's good for people to have that understanding before it is that they shift gears or they transition from one thing to another. You know what? We're going to take a quick break here at Money on Tap. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Ben Brayshaw, one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. If you have questions when it comes to your retirement and are looking for a personalized solution, contact us at Brayshaw Financial Group. In today's volatile stock market, we can help you plan to find your successful retirement solution. Am I saving enough? Am I saving into the right places? Do my investments match my appetite for risk? Do I have a tax strategy that is going to help me keep more of what I earn? How can I maximize my Social Security income? If you are like most people, you are getting closer and closer to your retirement and may be wondering if you're taking the right steps. If you're in retirement, you may be wondering, am I maximizing my income while preserving my estate and caring for my family? We talk about all things financial in what we call three-dimensional investing, putting a plan around your financial future. If you feel that now is the time to start getting the answers to some of these questions for your own situation, give us a call at Brayshaw Financial Group at 855-226-8551. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, we have offices throughout New England and across the country. We would love the opportunity to show you how we can help. There's absolutely no cost or obligation just to meet with us, and we welcome you to our office. Call us at 855-226-8551.
More Money on Tap in just a moment. On today's Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, John Ryder and Ben Brayshaw help us consider our investments in light of the demographic shift between baby boomers and millennials and the economic change that is certain to come.
We have people that are looking for guidance out there for, hey, how should I have my portfolio set? How should I have my allocations and all that? So, Ben, let's talk a little bit about what we talk with when people come into our office about ways in which they should perhaps structure their portfolio. What kind of things should we be looking at?
John, we talk about everything under the sun. I mean, there's not really anything we don't handle for the most part in the investment world. But it doesn't mean you have to take a huge amount of risk in this world to actually make money because of this demographic shift. I think that's the real story that exists out there, and people aren't really giving it the credit and the validity that it needs. And we talk to people all the time saying, the baby boomers are coming through buying up yield-producing, dividend-producing assets. Those things are going to rise in value as the demand for them increases. We're at the front end of this tidal wave. This is an opportunity to take advantage of those yielding assets if you know what you're doing, because you can probably take less risk and potentially see better returns because of that shift, because of that tidal wave, because of the demand for income-producing assets by people who are retiring, because that's what they need is income. Now, at the end of the day, though, it may not be true. It may not work because you have the millennials coming through, and that's a whole nother swing. So you've got these polar opposites, that ping pong table going on between those two age brackets. Now, at the end of the day, those people are going to be spending, the baby boomers are going to be spending, and where they're going to be spending is not exactly the same kind of thing, but it could be. There could be some similar overlaps. But I think ultimately kind of the traditional stock market investments where you have a certain amount of risky stuff and not so risky and real conservative and all that kind of generic malarkey. I think it has come down to that because the old story no longer fits the current demographic swing.
So it's not like it always was. Just times are changing.
Yeah, times are changing. You think about, was it Lee Iacocca when he created all the different cars moving with the baby boomers? Why was he so successful? He made the minivan and all the different vehicles. I remember seeing a story about him and how he went through that, and he just kept meeting the desires of that age bracket. Age bracket's coming through now. They're looking for income. That's one of the things why the bond world, the annuity world, the dividend stock world, the low-risk portfolios are so attractive because they want that station wagon. Now, how they invest and who does what and where they put their money and how they use it, hey, that's all to each person's needs and concerns. But I think if you're not taking that scenario into play, you're going to miss the whole cart. And it's going to literally walk right by you and maybe trample you in the marketplace.
Thanks for joining us for this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap with great tips from the pros in three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. Now here's more Money on Tap with Seth, Ben, and John.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Now, we're talking about a topic today, if you're just joining us, which we're kind of going to get back into, which is delaying retirement. We'll just get it out there. Rip the Band-Aid off, folks. There it is. Some people are doing it. And you know what? It's not for a lot of people. It's not necessarily that there's been, an economy that has slowed down or, there's been a lack of savings that has prolonged the working environment. For a lot of people, they love what they do.
Right.
They're not ready.
I think there's a little bit of the stigma the Band-Aid of the stigma has been pulled off. Oh, you're working in retirement. People are starting to realize that there's a lot more in value to working during retirement.
Yeah, so the fact is there may be people that are maybe work for a company for a long, long time, and now maybe they retired from that company, or maybe they even got laid off, and maybe they're now consulting. I have a friend of mine who worked for a hospital for almost 30 years here in New Hampshire, and he got laid off at 29 years and 6 months, and he went and started his own consulting company afterwards, and he loves it. He couldn't imagine going back to his regular day job. He's making more money. He's enjoying it more.
Yeah. So when it comes to the workplace and enjoying the work and the stigma and the Band-Aid being ripped off, there is something to that is changing in our society as an acceptable practice, because there was a lot of we have friends and they still have to work because they don't have enough money, but that's not what people think anymore, which is pretty cool, and that's not been the case for quite a while. But that number four, that healthcare costs are just crazy, and we're seeing. In fact, we had some stats on that when it came to the absolute numbers, the crazy numbers as far as rising healthcare costs are concerned. Ben, you were reading something the other day that was talking about if you're age 65, if a couple's age 65, they can expect to spend $280,000 on their medical care over the rest of their lives. This is according to Fidelity Investments. Yeah, so basically, when you think about saying I need about $300,000 just out of my own pocket for healthcare costs,
yeah,
that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that a lot of people aren't even expecting, especially when the following Vanguard research says that in 2016, people aged 65 and older, their 401k plan account balance average was $196,000. The median account balance was below half of that, which was like $60,000.
Yeah, so in that case, that's just a lack of savings that folks have.
Yeah, that's so you're talking about you're going to need some significant return to deal with not only just the retirement demand, but also all of the health costs that you're going to be flying around that side too. So
Ben, I recently ran across an article that was entitled "More Than Half of 60-somethings Say They're Delaying Retirement." Catch this: in 1996. less than 46% of people aged 60 to 64 were working. So think about that. In 1996, less than 46% of people aged 60 to 64 were working. In 2016, that share stood at 56%. And then what experts are predicting is that in 2026, it's expected to reach almost 60%. So that's a major, major, major difference. So despite the fact that we've had very nice gains in the stock market over the last 9 years and the positive impact that's had on American savings, more than half of workers over age 60 said they're putting off retirement. That's what the new survey says.
Which is not a big deal. I mean, when you look at, did you go through this right here? When you're 75 and older.
Yeah. Go through that. Yeah.
So I mean, 75 and older, right? The projection right now. So 75 and older working in 1996 was 4.7%. In 2016, it almost doubled. It was at 8.4%, and they're projecting to go well over 10% in the next 10 years. That's crazy. Yeah. 75 and older. Now, I think 65 to 69 is a really critical area. So to give people an idea, basically in 2006, 30% of people, or actually 1996, 21.9%. So 22% of people over 65 were working. In 2006, 30%, roughly 29% were working. And then in 2016, we're up to 32%. And they're expecting that to grow another 4% in the next 10 years. These numbers are continuing to increase. In the 70 to 74 realm, you really see a jump. You'll see a doubling between 1996 and the projected 2026. You see it go from 12.5% to 22.7%.
That's just a major jump. Jump.
That's huge. And all this Harris poll information is really interesting. And I think it really, there's some of this stuff is skewed naturally because the demographic change is happening.
Sure, that shift we've been talking about.
Yeah, we have 120 million Americans going to be over 65 in the next 20 years. So there's a lot of demand for things. But there's a lot of trades that don't have the youth and experience there available. So some of the older people who have some of this really good experience, who are still willing to work or interested in work, it's probably going to help us through a lot of hard times for the demand and need that people have for services.
Absolutely. Seth, you sent me an article, this was a few weeks ago, that I thought was interesting. Once in a while, Seth will send me an article that I just find interesting. The one that you sent me...
not often.
Not often, but this
I hear it's not often, John.
This was a CNBC article. Yeah, once in a while. I see 10 articles come from Seth, I throw 9 of them away. But this one here I saved 9.
Like 25 and you keep 1.
Okay. But the article was kind of different than what most financial planners would recommend. And the article was entitled, this is from CNBC, on June 24th in 2018, it says, "Forget saving more, try working longer." And the author on this, Jessica Dickler, Sharon Epperson, wrote, "When it comes to retirement savings, many nest eggs fall short. However, that doesn't mean that you can't retire as planned. In a trade-off between working longer or saving more, a recent report found that delaying retirement for just 3 to 6 months has the same impact as savings 1% more of your salary over 30 years. That's crazy to me.
Okay.
Say that again.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
So, but
what does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, so delaying your retirement for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, just working a little bit longer.
It's the same as basically saving 1% more a year over 30 years.
Wow.
That's a lot. Now, but there's a big black hole in this statement, right? This is assuming that you have saved enough to retire 3 to 6 months post the date you were going to retire.
Yes.
Right? Because because otherwise you got to keep.
And that's why I sent it to you. I'm just trying to make sure you're on your toes there,
Staying
John.
awake.
But it is interesting though. But it gives a good point that you're really going to emphasize, the strength. Because when I first got in the business, someone said to me in the planning realm, they said, it's the first 5 years of retirement that are the most crucial in someone's retirement plan success.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting because as you break that statement down, okay, if the market starts tanking right after you retire, okay, if you had a 2008, you retired in 2007 and 2008 hits and you lose 30-40% of your money, well, maybe you can go back to work. But after that first 5 years, right, you become less employable.
Sure, less marketable. Who's hiring
Yeah,
someone at
less-
72 years old, right?
less able.
Yeah.
Less, like getting up early. Oh, I hurt from yesterday. There's a lot of like things pushing back on you from having a recovery session. So those first 5 years of success are really, really important because that carries you on a long way. You can't be out of work for 10 or 15 years anymore and, go back
No, whole
to
different
work.
deal.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
whole different deal. So those are really, really important scenarios. And as you break down all the different woes, like I'm working with one woman right now. She sent me her pension information, and she's getting a buyout offer from the pension company.
Yep.
And I was showing it to you, John,
Yeah.
because the payout is really very, very strong.
Yeah.
And
Was it 7.5% or so? Ben?
7.7% is the
Yeah,
projected
yeah.
payout. And
That's unheard of these days. That's actually
yeah.
really good.
And I want to just read the language to this stuff because it's a little scary when you're getting this stuff, and I understand why. It says the lump sum payment amount, joint and survivor annuity amounts and certain continuous annuity amounts below are based on current interest rates and actuarial factors that may vary from those used to calculate benefits commencing in future years.
So if
That's a lot of
actuarial
what ifs.
Yeah, so if actuarial tables shift as they do, and they could be using some old actuarial tables there, maybe they're going to have, and who knows? I mean, it's just
Well, then remember, John, we had someone come in with the state of New Hampshire retirement system.
Yeah.
And the payout was like less than 2%.
yeah, it was terrible.
It was
Terrible.
horrible. And it was nothing that was projected to them years and years and years prior.
No, and we were able to actually show on that with that one particular client, we were able to actually show her where we could actually even more than double her income with some guaranteed type of products that we're using.
So I mean, it was just interesting how using annuities compared to, but these pension tables are all over the place, and the doubts that are written into the paperwork. Like she called me and she said, I don't know what they're going to really pay me. I can't match 7.7%.
No,
not in a guaranteed scenario. But they're not guaranteeing it either.
Right, because of their language in there.
Yeah.
It sounds really good, but in fact, I think the payment that they were able to offer her was really a lot higher than you were able to offer her. But there's a lot of unknowns there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, so it's breaking this stuff down is really, really hard for people in retirement, and going through this whole saving more, working longer. These types of fears, these types of concerns, they require some help. Right, in just trying to figure out what the balance is.
Yeah, do I retire now? Do I maybe even get a part-time job? Seth, we're seeing a lot of people in the industry right now that are coming to us that are actually taking part-time work on. Hey, they're done with the full 40-hour, 45-hour-a-week deal where they're driving, half an hour, 45 minutes into a job, and maybe they're getting a local job that's just taking care of some of their base income and just working. It could be a Home Depot, it could be who knows, some kind of consulting.
I've had some clients. I've had some clients come in and say things of the nature. I really love what I do, and I don't really want to stop until I absolutely have to. And honestly, if we can figure out how to maximize these assets for my kids, I have one child who has special needs, or I have this scenario. I'm concerned for my grandkids' college education. My other child is they're off donating their time in some sort of missions work, and I want to make sure that their family is able to retire because I don't need to right now. There's a lot of people who have passions about accomplishing things with money that they saved, well intentioned for themselves, but think, hey, we don't need it. We had a woman come into our office and she said, I have all this money. I don't know what to do with it. And, we've been investing it for years. It's grown and it's grown and it's grown. She's like, hey, listen, I don't need any of this money. I mean, you're doing a great job with it. We're really happy with everything. What do I do? And so we started doing some planning around really amplifying the estate and, intentionally creating beneficiaries and really having her work through that process. It was really exciting for her.
And that creates fulfillment for her because, she saved over all these years, and the fact that she's actually able to spread the savings that she's done over the years and to put it where she wants to put it is really a powerful
and the magnification we were able to accomplish with a couple of special scenarios was really cool. And so there's a lot of reasons why people just continue to work, and that's okay.
And this is why we love what we do here as financial planners here at Brayshaw Financial Group. We have the opportunity to be able to help people make major, major differences when it comes to their retirement, when it comes to planning for kids' college, when it comes to all those sorts of things. So we are grateful for that opportunity that we have with you guys each and every week.
And we're hoping John retires early.
Yes, I'm going to probably take an early retirement package here in the next week or two. So thank you.
We covered a lot of ground here today, and maybe you're listening to this show and it's making a lot of sense for you to take a closer look at your situation. And perhaps you've been putting off the meeting that you need to have when it comes to your retirement. In that case, I'd love to sit down with you and discuss putting a plan together for you. When it comes to your retirement planning, we find that taking a positive and proactive approach really creates better results than what we call reactionary planning. That's going to do it for us here at Money on Tap today. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. You can also find us at Facebook, and it's been a lot of fun. Great topic, you guys. Have a great one.
Hello, my name is John Ryder, a partner with Brayshaw Financial Group and one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. 10,000 Americans are turning 65 every day, and planning a successful retirement today is more challenging than ever, with a roller coaster stock market, political and economic uncertainty, and so many unknowns when it comes to the escalating costs of healthcare. Let us show you how we utilize the 3D method of investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. Using our experience, let us help you plan for a successful retirement. Now is the right time to start getting help. Give us a call at Brayshaw Financial Group at 855-226-8551. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, we have offices across the country. We would love the opportunity to meet with you. There's absolutely no cost or obligation to meet with us, and we welcome you to our offices. Call 855-226-8551 today.
On this edition of Money on Tap, a runner alone in a long-distance relay race. That's how Ben Brayshaw describes the feelings of many people who are dealing with investments and retirement.
Usually no one really around you, and you're running by yourself, and it's like 6-8 miles. You're waiting for the big marker to come up to point you to go a different direction. You're like, am I on the right road? Am I going the right direction? It's all dark around me, and I'm not sure. I'm alone in this space. Yeah, this is how a lot of people feel in this world about their investments and their retirement. They feel like they're running on a pitch black road. They think they're going in the right direction. They're pretty sure. They're not exactly aware of where to stop and ask for help. This is where people like us come alongside, and we bring a lot of light with us. When you have a planner, you have someone like in the conversation I had today, it's bringing all those pieces together because you have this 401k or whatever retirement plan you have at work. Then you have your home, and then you have some other assets outside of that. You're basically trying to funnel that all into this one item called retirement. And I think ultimately most planners, most firms just look at the assets outside your home and outside your 401k, and those are the two largest assets.
Sure.
So how can you really do planning when all you're looking at is just a small picture of what's really going on? And we have to have a holistic viewpoint, and we need to really break in to getting you to have a successful retirement event, whether it's at 35, whether it's at 45, 55, or 65, whatever that time period is. That's where you have to have your trajectory set and ready to go and get the help.
Stay that course.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, with great tips from the pros in three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.